It's a busy afternoon in the city. People are going about their day, completely unaware of what's about to happen. A young man, carrying 2 big bags, moves quickly down the street. He glances around, making sure no one's watching, then slips one bag into a trash can and leaves the other near a dump site. Across the street, his partner drops another bag beside a parked car. What's inside these bags isn't what you think. They're rigged with explosives, but not the kind meant to kill. Seconds later, the blasts go off, sending people into a panic as hundreds of leaflets rain down on the crowd. The year is 1979. South Africa is under apartheid, a brutal system where racist laws gave white people total control while stripping black South Africans of even their most basic rights. For decades, people suffered, but there were those willing to fight back, including groups like the African National Congress. And those leaflets? They carried a message the government didn't want anyone to see. This is the true story of 2 white anti-apartheid activists whose fight for justice landed them one of the most feared prisons in the country. And against all odds, they planned to break out. But first, they had to survive getting caught. After the explosions, Jenkins and Lee don't make it far. The police catch them. They're arrested for handing out leaflets that the government calls a threat to national security. While waiting for trial, Jenkins' wife secretly visits him. She slips him some money for prison and promises to stand by him no matter what. Later, while pretending to use the bathroom, Jenkins hides the money inside a cigar case and painfully conceals it inside his body. In court, the judge scolds them for supporting the ANC and betraying their own race. To make an example of them, Jenkins gets 12 years in prison for making the explosives. Lee, as his helper, gets 8 years. After the sentencing, Lee tries to run but fails. The 2 are taken to a high-security prison, only for white political prisoners. At the entrance, the warden calls them traitors. He's heard about their protest and is glad they're locked up, so he hands them over to Meaner, his toughest guard. Meaner leads Jenkins and Lee deeper into the prison, explaining the rules as they go. However, Jenkins has no intention of staying long, so he scans his surroundings carefully, looking for weakness. He notices multiple barred gates, and guards carry large, old-fashioned keys that unlock most doors, except for one gate, which is controlled electronically from a secured room. The security is tight, and Jenkins realizes the prison seems impossible to escape. They reach their cells, each with 2 doors, a barred gate reinforced by a solid metal door. Once locked inside, Jenkins and Lee tap on the shared wall between them and are happy that at least communicating will be easy. That night, Jenkins lies awake, thinking how in the world will he escape with all the tight security. During breakfast the next morning, Jenkins moves nervously through the canteen. He is unsure where to sit, as he wants to avoid the wrong group. An older prisoner named Dennis guides him to a safer table. Dennis is a senior anti-apartheid activist serving 4 life sentences. He warns Jenkins that sitting elsewhere could have been dangerous. In the prison, violent offenders wear blue shirts while non-violent prisoners wear gray. Soon, Lee joins them. The 3 talk quietly about their situations, not realizing a French-Australian prisoner named Leonard is listening. During exercise time, Dennis explains how things work to his 2 new friends. Earlier at breakfast, Jenkins and Stephen had made it clear they wanted to escape. Dennis could see they weren't planning to stay long, so he shows them the prison layout. He warns them about the challenges. The only climbable wall near a public street is 20 feet high. Bright searchlights cover the entire yard. The barbed wire fences are extremely sharp. Most importantly, armed guards patrol the rooftops constantly, including one trigger-happy officer. Even tunneling offers no escape. The underground passages just circle back inside the prison walls. Dennis tells them escape is impossible. He explains many prisoners have tried before, but no one has ever succeeded. After Dennis leaves, Leonard comes over. He tells Jenkins and Stephen that Dennis always discourages new prisoners from escaping, but Leonard believes it can be done if they go through the grill doors. Leonard offers to help them, but only if they let him join their escape plan. Later, Jenkins retrieves the hidden cigar case with money inside. He secretly passes it to Dennis. Dennis hides the money in a toothpaste tube. As a respected prisoner who once worked with Nelson Mandela against apartheid, Dennis has the best chance of keeping it hidden. On the 23rd night, as prison life becomes routine, Jenkins decides to test Leonard's idea. He lights a match and looks through the keyhole in his cell's grill door, searching for weaknesses but finds none. As days pass, Jenkins becomes obsessed with the locks. He studies them constantly. In his cell, during exercise, everywhere. The location doesn't matter. Finding a solution consumes all his thoughts. Then one night, An idea suddenly strikes him. He uses paper and a stick to measure the keyhole's depth and length. Jenkins plans to carve wooden copies of the prison keys. The next day in the showers, he shares the plan with his partners. Leonard doubts it will work since wood isn't as strong as metal and might break, but Jenkins and Stephen believe it can succeed. Jenkins already knows the keyhole dimensions and can get wood from the workshop. All that's left is knowing exactly what the real keys look like. At mealtime, they put their plan into action. Leonard deliberately drops his food tray, creating a distraction. When Officer Miner arrives to investigate and starts yelling at them, Jenkins gets a clear view of the keys hanging from his belt. From that day forward, Jenkins watches for every opportunity to study the keys. In the yard, during roll call, anywhere guards might be. He memorizes their shapes, noticing each has unique grooves and ridges. Each time he returns to his cell, he records the measurements on paper. After many days of careful observation, he completes rough drawings of the keys. On the 74th day, Jenkins finally has all the information he needs to make a working key. His hands tremble as he steals pieces of wood and sandpaper from the workshop. He carefully places them in the hidden compartment of his coffee thermos, stuffing extra clothes around them to keep them from making noise. Later, when Officer Miner conducts his routine search of prisoners' thermoses, Jenkins' body locks up with fear. Miner notices his reaction immediately and shakes the thermos hard several times, but the padding does its job and nothing rattles. Jenkins hurries back to his cell and begins carving the first key, chiseling the wood with stolen tools. He has no glue, so he uses toothpaste to hold the pieces together, then places them under the heat of his cell's light bulb to harden. Hours pass as he scrubs and sands the wood into shape. When he finally tries the key in his cell door, it turns with a satisfying click. The grill door opens, but Jenkins' triumph vanishes as he sees the heavy metal door behind it has no keyhole on his side. They'll need another key to open it from outside. At breakfast, Jenkins explains the setback to the others through careful whispers. Leonard, seeing the crazy plan might actually work, becomes fully committed. Weeks of hard work follow. By the 100th day, Jenkins has crafted a second key. Their chance comes during hallway mopping duty when the guards step away. Jenkins tries the new key. It doesn't fit perfectly, so he chisels it a bit. The second try works. The lock turns. The group becomes excited, but their excitement doesn't last. As Jenkins tries to withdraw the key, the wood snaps. They begin to panic as they hear a guard's footsteps approaching. Jenkins tries to relock the door, but only succeeds in pulling out the broken piece. The guard appears just as Jenkins hides the evidence. That evening, when Miner makes his rounds, he notices the lock mechanism of Jenkins' cell sticking out slightly. Jenkins holds his breath. After what feels like forever, Miner simply slams the door shut. The close call makes the group abandon their escape plan. But everything changes during Leonard's next family visit. Miner suddenly interrupts Leonard's time with his son. When Leonard tries to comfort the crying boy, Miner roughly ends the visit early. Leonard's son is sent away forcefully while Leonard watches helplessly. Miner's cruelty reignites Leonard's desperation to escape, and his determination convinces Jenkins and Lee to try again. On day 142, the three men gather in Jenkins' cell, brainstorming ways to open the steel gate from inside. Leonard proposes what seems like a silly idea, using a string, but the others point out that a string can't turn the lock. Yet this seemingly foolish idea sparks their breakthrough. When Miner suddenly appears, suspicious of their gathering, Leonard quickly grabs a broom and pretends to be cleaning. The act works. Miner leaves without discovering their plan. As Lee stares at the broom in Leonard's hand, an idea suddenly hits him. He takes it outside and measures the distance from their cell window to the door. They want to use it to unlock the door from outside, but it's just slightly too short. The next day in the workshop, Jenkins gets an idea as he watches Dennis using a sewing machine. That night, he builds a similar mechanism and attaches it to the broomstick, fixing the wooden key to the end. Reaching through his cell window bars, Jenkins tests the device. After several attempts, it works. The key turns and the gate unlocks, but when he tries to pull it back, the key falls to the ground. Thinking fast, Jenkins chews some gum and sticks it to the broom handle. With shaking hands, he uses this makeshift tool to retrieve the key. The stress overwhelms him. He collapses onto his bunk, panicking. The next morning, Jenkins excitedly reveals to his friends his success with the metal door. Over the following days, he successfully makes several more keys and manages to open a third gate. They hide the bad keys in the ground during gardening activities. Denise, who has been watching the trio's progress this whole time, warns Jenkins to abandon the plan, explaining that a failed escape would bring severe consequences for all inmates. This makes Jenkins realize they need more resources to outsmart the guards, so they begin recruiting additional prisoners into their plan. By day 206, new walls have been constructed around the prison, but the boys notice the routines remain unchanged. They identify this predictability as the prison's weakness and begin carefully studying both the facility's schedule and the guards' patterns. They pay special attention to where new inmate clothes are stored, which Lee later steals, wearing all of them under his prison uniform. Jenkins negotiates a deal with the janitor, offering soap and cigarettes in exchange for construction blueprints. The exchange occurs at the dumpsters. Jenkins secures the soap and cigarettes to the bottom of garbage bins and retrieves the hidden map without getting caught. Throughout this transaction, Miner watches Jenkins closely, but fails to uncover anything suspicious. On day 296, armed with sufficient information, they test their escape plan. That night, Jenkins and Leonard create dummies in their beds before sneaking out of their cells. They chose this night specifically because the obese guard is on duty. His size makes him slow and inattentive. Still, the men are nervous, sweating profusely as they move. They carefully descend the stairs until reaching another grill gate. Using their collection of keys, they unlock the fourth gate just as the large guard rises from his seat to begin patrol. Hearing his approaching footsteps, Jenkins and Leonard quickly hide in a storage room, barely closing the door in time. When the guard passes and goes upstairs for his routine check, they emerge and continue. Jenkins succeeds in opening a fifth gate, but before they can attempt another, Lee coughs from upstairs. Their prearranged signal that the guard has finished his rounds. They leave one gate unlocked and retreat to the storage room. The returning guard doesn't notice the unlocked gate, but does observe sweat droplets on the floor, which he dismisses. Once safe, the men return to their cells. Jenkins dismantles his keys into pieces and hides them inside his cup before falling asleep, thrilled by their progress. However, Jenkins oversleeps the next morning, missing the alarm due to exhaustion from the night's activities. Miner and the warden enter his cell to wake him. The furious warden demands an explanation, to which Jenkins can only offer apologies. They conduct a thorough search of all cells. During the inspection, the cup on Jenkins' shelf gets knocked over, spilling the wooden key fragments. The warden picks up a piece and demands to know what it is. Fighting panic, Jenkins calmly explains they're holders for personal photographs. The warden finds this ridiculous but accepts the explanation, though not before warning Jenkins that he suspects he's up to something. The close call leaves Jenkins with panic attacks, but he persists. Learning from their mistake, he begins hiding keys in various locations, under library shelves and inside laundry baskets filled with soap powder. The group works tirelessly, making and testing keys each night until they possess 39 keys for 15 different prison doors. Only one door remains, the electric gate. Jenkins has been planning for this since his arrival, deliberately neglecting dental hygiene to develop tooth decay that would warrant medical attention. By day 404, his strategy succeeds. When Miner takes him to the doctor, Jenkins uses the opportunity to study the electronic gate. At Christmas, inside Dennis's cell, Jenkins explains the final escape plan to Dennis and their new recruits. Jenkins, Leonard, and Steven are ready to go, but Dennis refuses. He believes the risks are too high because of the new gun tower outside the prison walls. Even if they escape, he argues, they'll have nowhere to go. Dennis thinks fighting the government from inside prison is more effective. Still, he returns Jenkins' money hidden in a toothpaste tube. At the worst possible moment, the warden arrives for a surprise cell inspection. He tears apart Jenkins' cell, searching for contraband, but overlooks the toothpaste lying openly on the bed. That evening, after most guards leave and only the lazy guard remains on duty, the escape begins. Jenkins, Leonard, and Lee slip from their cells. Before leaving the hallway, Jenkins asks Dennis one final time to join them. Again, Dennis refuses. The group collects all their hidden keys and changes into civilian clothes. As they move downstairs, they hear the lazy guard's footsteps approaching. So the men scramble into a storage room, holding the door shut while trembling with fear. They don't realize the guard is coming to return a plunger he collected earlier. Just as the guard nears the storage room, the lights suddenly go out. Denise has caused a short circuit by breaking his light bulb. He and other inmates begin shouting about the blackout, successfully distracting the guard, who grumbles and heads upstairs to investigate. Without wasting a second, the three men leave the storage room and hurry to the next door. Working together and thinking of their families, they successfully unlock each door one after another. When they reach the automatic gate, Leonard quickly goes to the control room and opens it successfully. Everything goes smoothly until the final door. None of their 39 keys work. Jenkins wants them to return to their cells, but Leonard refuses to quit. He takes out his chisel and starts hitting the lock hard. The loud noise terrifies Jenkins, who fears they'll be caught. But miraculously, Leonard's desperate plan works. The repeated blows shatter the wooden frame around the lock mechanism, and the stubborn door finally swings open. Luckily, construction noises cover the sound, and the sniper on the roof doesn't hear them. The ongoing construction has also left the gate conveniently wide open. Their last remaining obstacle is the notoriously trigger-happy sniper, watching from the guard tower. However, dressed in civilian clothes, the three walk calmly across the grounds. No one suspects anything, not even Meener, who's talking to someone in the parking lot. After safely clearing the prison grounds, they run until reaching a nearby motor park. When the driver hesitates because they're white and his cab is for black passengers only, Jenkins shows a stack of money. The driver agrees to take them to the border. After a year and a half in prison, Jenkins, Leonard, and Lee are finally free. The next morning, Meener discovers the empty cells and sounds the alarm. Dennis and the other prisoners laugh. They know it's too late. The concluding text reveals the remarkable aftermath of their escape. South African authorities launched the most extensive manhunt in the nation's history, but never succeeded in recapturing the fugitives. The three made their way across the border to Mozambique, then traveled onward to Tanzania before ultimately reaching London. There, they reunited with the ANC leadership and continued their vital anti-apartheid activism from exile. After more than a decade abroad, they received official pardons in 1991. Dennis Goldberg gained his freedom earlier in 1985 and was finally able to embrace his wife and children again. Tragically, Jenkins returned to South Africa too late. His beloved wife had passed away during his years in exile. The apartheid regime finally collapsed in 1992, and in South Africa's first democratic elections in 1994, ANC leader Nelson Mandela was elected as the country's first black president, marking the ultimate triumph of their long struggle.